present officials at the CDC talk about how there is an open, I call it a war, an open conflict with the White House as to listening to the scientists and the science. The president has one measure of how he's going to be reelected in his view, and that is his Mar-a-Lago friends, are they doing well, and is the stock market rising? Because that's his basis upon which he measures whether or not there's any economic success. And I think he's prepared to do virtually anything to try to get that moving without paying nearly enough attention to what everyone from Dr. Fauci to scientists all over the country have said in great universities, from Johns Hopkins to Stanford to Columbia, et cetera, have said that we have to really worry about whether or not there's going to be a considerable rebound of this disease, a rebound of this virus. And look, he hadn't even, look how long it took him to get the PPE, the protective gear to people. Still not everywhere. He talks about to this moment, he said, anybody who wants to test can get one. Well, he can get one every day or if he wants to, and the White House can, but people can't. Some people can, but the vast majority of American people can't just go get a test. I mean, why don't you start to tell the American people the truth? They're tough. They can handle it. And tell them what's going to happen and tell them how you're going to get these things done.
Why is coronavirus testing in the U.S. still a debacle? CNN spoke to state health officials, testing labs, test suppliers, hospitals, and industry insiders, more than 20 testing experts. The overwhelming consensus, no federal plan.
We need to have a better national strategy to deal with testing.
But wait a minute, wasn't there supposed to be a plan? A White House coronavirus task force, and wasn't this man, Admiral Brett Giroir, tasked with fixing testing? The answer to all three is yes, and according to Admiral Brett Giroir, the federal government is doing all it can.
But it's not enough with them. Of course it's enough. Tell me one thing that we should be doing with any of these private labs that we're not doing or they're not doing on their own, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, here, Admiral Giroir, is what the federal government should be doing, according to those experts. First, national coordination of supplies. One way to get more of those supplies is increased use of the Defense Production Act, or DPA. CNN previously reported how the administration isn't using the DPA as much as it could. A plan released by the Rockefeller Foundation said the government should immediately invoke the act, specifically to increase supplies for reagents and machinery to process testing.
What we have seen is that industry left to its own devices is not going to produce the types of tests and the scale of tests necessary.
And several of the experts say the Trump administration needs to abandon its idea that the competitive marketplace will solve supply issues. It simply won't. And if you want proof, Dr. Rajiv Shah of the Rockefeller Foundation says turn on your TV and watch some sports.
If you are a multi-million-dollar baseball or basketball player, you're getting tested quite often so that you can go to work. But if you're a teacher, if you're a healthcare worker, if you're out there doing your job and asked to do your job without the benefit of support for testing, that's not fair and that's not right.
So is the technology there? I mean, the other day you and I were talking and you said you wanted a world where people can wake up in the morning, spit on a special strip of paper, 2 minutes later, you got the virus or you don't. Now, if that kind of thing happened, we could open schools, we could open the economy. I mean, talk about transformational and the best thing to happen to an economy that's in a depression. Does that technology exist?
It does exist. It does exist. It's amazing, right? That strip of paper technology exists. These antigen tests that give you results in 15 minutes exist. And the bottom line is that if you just leave it to the market, they will ramp up and produce millions of tests in the next year or two. Well, we don't have a year or two. We got to get it now. And that's why we need the hand of the government really creating a market, helping with supplies, making it happen. And if the federal government isn't going to do it, and it's very clear they're not going to do it, these states are coming together and saying they're going to work with the companies, they're going to create the marketplace. And I think it's a job of Congress to help the states out with the resources and other things so that states can take the lead.
So, Dr. Jha, President Trump tonight suggested that the United States carries out more random testing for the virus compared to other countries. Here he is.
We are testing at a level that no country in the world, and I've spoken to the leaders of the world, and they'll ask me about it, No country in the world thought it would be, it's even believable that we're able to test so much. 61 million versus, most countries don't even test. When they test? When somebody's feeling badly. If somebody's feeling badly, they're symptomatic, that's when they test. And that's a big difference. With us, we go around and looking, because if we find spots, we find hot spots.
Is that right? That we are doing this amazing randomized testing?
So it's not quite right. First of all, on a per capita basis, we're not number one at all. And that's what matters. Second is our outbreak is much, much bigger. So we need to be doing more testing, and we're still falling behind. Third, there are all sorts of surveillance testing programs that other countries have that they're doing. But because they've managed to bring their outbreaks under much better control, they don't have to do quite as much of it. But the idea that we're the only ones doing surveillance is just not true. There are lots of countries that are doing it. We are not winning this game. We have more cases, but more importantly, we have more hospitalizations and more deaths than any other country in the world. So no matter how you slice it, we're doing pretty poorly.